Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business News Afternoon Report for Tuesday, the 10th of September 2024. I'm Sean Aylmer. Every afternoon, we've got the 5 stories that happened today that you need to know about. Story number 1, the S&P ASX 200 closed up 0.3% today to 8,012 points, having earlier in the day been up quite a bit more. The banks keep giving, with Commonwealth Bank today hitting a new record high of $145.24 a share. Macquarie Group hit a new record also of $228.50 a share, while Westpac, National Australia Bank and ANZ are trading above or at 7-year highs. It came after UBS analysts suggested investors choose banks over miners, arguing that even at these elevated prices, the big banks are likely to do better than the resource companies. Also affecting the banks, the regulator, the Australian Prudential Regulation Authority, today announced plans to phase out bank hybrid securities and force the financial companies to replace them with cheaper and more reliable forms of capital. Away from the banks, energy and telcos did best today, while materials companies performed worst. Taking a look at the non-bank large caps, WiseTech Global and QBE led the way. Fortescue Metals was the main laggard. Story number 2, the Aussie dollar isn't having much fun at the moment. It's trading around 66.5 US cents, hit by fears of an economic slowdown and disappointing economic data out of China. Oil prices have edged up again on the back of Hurricane Francine shutting down drilling operations in Texas. Still, it's trading close to 3-year lows. Gold's buying $2,500 an ounce, and there has been a jump in iron ore prices on hopes that maybe Beijing will provide some stimulus to the Chinese economy. Story number 3, consumer sentiment has fallen on the back of fears about the economic outlook and the jobs market. The Westpac Melbourne Institute Index of Consumer Sentiment fell 0.5%, meaning pessimism has been the dominant emotion for more than 2 years. Westpac senior economist Matthew Hassan says that there's little sign of the glumness lifting. Consumers are less worried about interest rates rising and believe the cost of living crisis has eased somewhat, but they do fear where the economy is heading and what that means for employment. The survey also shows home buyer sentiment improved slightly and house price expectations have cooled in Victoria and New South Wales. Story number 4, well, the news wasn't any better in the business sector, with both sentiment and conditions tumbling, according to the monthly National Australia Bank survey. The business sector has been the brighter part of the economy, but now, as NAB Chief Economist Alan Oster says, conditions, which measures jobs, sales and profitability, are fairly clearly below average compared to the history of the survey. Business confidence has now fallen to negative levels, meaning that business is pessimistic. There's also been a strong drop in the employment gauge, suggesting the post-COVID boom period for the labour market is over. Story number 5, Federal Treasurer Jim Chalmers will consider negotiating with the Greens to push through changes to the Reserve Bank after the coalition rejected reforms around the proposed new interest rate setting board. The country's central bank really is becoming a political football that won't help good economic policy making. Today, the Shadow Treasurer Angus Taylor said the coalition will oppose plans to split the 9-person RBA board into separate committees for interest rate setting and for governance unless the 6 current external RBA board members make it onto the 9-member interest rate setting board. The splitting of the board proposal came from an independent review of the bank last year, and Mr. Taylor said the way it's planned, it opens the way for the interest rate setting board to be politicised. Actually, he said, and I quote, it would leave open the option for a stitch-up of the Reserve Bank board. With legislation needed to pass Parliament, Dr. Chalmers said the coalition's decision was irresponsible and disappointing, and he'll now consider negotiating with the Greens. For their part, the Greens have made it clear that it wants any new legislation to retain the Treasurer's veto power over the Reserve Bank, a power that's already there, but it's never been used in the 64-year history of the central bank. That's it for the afternoon report for Tuesday, the 10th of September 2024. Michael Thompson and I will be back tomorrow morning with the Wednesday edition of Fear and Greed Business News. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your evening.